A chaotic week. NFL trade deadline, rumors, reports, all surrounding both New York football teams. And the big thing that has got me perplexed with this Giants team. If you are going to fire one, you have to fire both. This is a collective failure in the Daboll and Schoen era. This regime, which I know I haven't been on a lot, and my opinions flipped a lot since we've last spoke to each other in over a month. But if you listen to me over the summer, I've been very, defending of this team. I've been on their side. I was higher on the Giants coming into the year, and that's with me being completely wrong about Jackson Dart, who's been awesome. But I was higher about this Giants team than they've performed. I was higher about this regime than they've performed. There is a lack of competency throughout this organization, and I do think that they should get the year to finish because I don't think you gain much from firing guys right now. But if you're going to fire Daboll, Schoen must go with him. Now, they have a chance to earn their jobs, but the wins do not look to be rolling through anytime soon. Even with a victory this Sunday, I am not going to sit here and flip my tune about Daboll and Schoen no more. I've been fooled enough. 888-808-1019, the number to call as always. So sure, I don't think Daboll's a good coach. That ship has sailed for me. I also don't think Joe Schoen is a good GM. And none of this has to do with Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley. None of this. Let's start with the defense. Everyone hates the defensive coordinator. Bowen is somehow to blame for everything for the defense. But the moment the defense started to fail, remove the Cowboys game early in the year. You're learning a lot. That's a good offense. They were healthy at the time. The moment this defense flipped from when it was playing well to not playing well, right before the fourth quarter of that Broncos game, what happened? Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland both go down with injuries. And the defense hasn't stopped anybody since. And why? Because they lack depth. Deonte Banks is not a good football player. The level of talent is few and far between for every single position group on this roster outside of pass rush. Outside of the defensive line, they have done nothing with this roster. Wan'Dale Robinson has finally shown you something. Even with him and Malik Neighbors, you don't have enough at the wide receiver position. Cam Scatterbo, all right, you want to give me running back, but that is a plug-and-play position. And if you want to credit them for Jackson Dart, fine. But there is too many mistakes. You cannot just get rewarded for being able to draft a quarterback when you can't put together the rest of the team. And they haven't been able to do that. And for every great move, Brian Burns, the signings of a Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland, I could give you 6 more worse ones. Sterling Shepard, or not Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. And everyone always goes back to the easy one, signing Daniel Jones, which most teams would have done in that scenario, or re-signing Saquon. Those are not where my issues are. He's got 2 of the worst drafts in the history of this franchise. So if the coach is the problem, so is the GM. Because where the coach is flawed, he's also had to deal with a flawed roster. And who's in charge of that? They are joined at the hips. I cannot sit here and tell you that if Daboll's fired, Schoen somehow keeps his job. Because Daboll, where he's done great, he's failed at other places. More places than he's done great. And the same can go for Joe Schoen. And we also don't know what this quarterback is yet. He has been great, and there's no reason for Giant fans not to be excited. But I am not saving these guys' jobs because of what Jackson Dart is right now. I've also seen the ability of not being able to put talent around him. Just because you draft a running back on the second, third day does not make you able to save your job. And if you want to talk about the injuries, every single team in the NFL deals with injuries. Every team, every fan walks away every Sunday and Monday, Thursday some weeks, with an injury they're concerned about. Good teams are able to manage around that. The Chargers, the Niners, two of the most injured teams in football right now, were able to build rosters that they could survive with. And that Chargers offensive line that's dealing with 100 injuries is better than this Giants offensive line. You drafted Andrew Thomas, well, you drafted Evan Neal also. You traded for Brian Burns. You also signed Darius Slayton to that extension. They've had a million free agent pickups that have not worked out. I'm not going to praise them for the one or two that do work out. And it's a failure. It is a complete failure. With this all being said, let me repeat myself. They should get to the end of the year because what is firing them going to do for you now? You'd probably fire Daboll first and Schoen would get let go at the end of the season. But it doesn't change anything. Kafka's not coming in here and all of a sudden winning the head coaching job. It's not happening. I've seen failures in coaching, but I've seen failures in roster, construction and player development. They both have equally weighed this franchise down. So you cannot keep one and get rid of the other. You're either getting rid of both of them or something magical happened the rest of the season. You're 2-7. You have what? 9 games left. Unless they go 6-2, 5-3, I'm not keeping either of them. And even at that point, it could be fool's gold. So I do not believe in the direction of this franchise like I once did. And this is not to say the franchise does not have a bright future because of what they've done at wide receiver and quarterback. Sure. Malik Neighbors and Jackson Dart have both been great picks. Fine. Taking Abdul Carter has not panned out just yet. And I'm not writing him off. But if you don't want to criticize some of the picks they made this year, well, what about the 2 drafts, 2022, 2023, drafts like that? Deonte Banks. Jalen Hyatt was supposed to be this take the top off guy. All we heard about, and he's never panned out. Micah McFadden has been good when he's been healthy, can't stay healthy. Evan Neal, disaster. They haven't been able to develop Evan Neal. We've seen bad linemen be developed. Time and time again, I've seen failures from this GM and this coach. It is not outweighed by one or the other. Because I've seen Daboll coach around some deficiencies. I've also seen him hold this team back. And I've seen Schoen work with the cap they have and also make detrimental moves to this franchise and the flexibility going forward. The only thing they haven't done is evaporate the future trade capital, the future draft capital. The trade for Brian Burns I thought was fair value, and it didn't hamstring their future. And taking the quarterback is not saving you when you cannot build the rest of the roster out. Like I said, you guys want to blame, Shane Bowen for a lot. You want to blame the defensive coordinator. Well, you had a great defensive coordinator, and you ran him out of town. And if the GM let the coach do that, that's on him just as much as it's on Brian Daboll. And again, I want to point out, Shane Bowen is working with a very thin defense. They are one injury away at most positions from being wrecked. They had 4 good defensive backs coming into the year. The second they lost one of them, they were in trouble. When they lost 2 of them, the defense didn't have a chance. And that's what happened. Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland both got hurt going into that 4th quarter of that Broncos game, and it flipped. Maybe it was early in the 4th, but that's when they got hurt, and the defense has never recovered. Who was that on? Why is Banks still on the team? Who was that on? How did Darius Slayton survive this long? Who was that on? Evan Neal. Who was that on? So for all of Daboll's flaws, and there's a lot of them, Joe Schoen is just as responsible. So when you call in tonight, 888-808-1019, and you tell me that Joe Schoen deserves to keep his job but not Brian Daboll, I can't trust your opinion. Again, I am advocating for them keeping their jobs, not because I believe they're going to win it back, but you're not holding yourself back by allowing them to continue to coach. Outside of an outright mutiny where the players absolutely give up on the field, including the young players, there's no reason to make a change right now. It's not going to change their fortunes this season. And if that does happen, you cannot fire just Daboll. You should fire both of them. What the Dolphins did, getting rid of Greer, and somehow McDaniel still has his job, is idiotic. Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll collectively told us that there was no QB competition, and Russell Wilson was the starter at a camp. If they had Jackson Dart weeks 1 and 2, things might be different. Who was the one throwing passes on third down against the Broncos when they had one timeout left? Jackson Dart doesn't make that call on his own. He's a rookie. Of course there's a chance he can make a bad throw like he did. Who decided to stick with Russell Wilson as long as they wanted to? It was not just Brian Daboll. This is they work in conjunction with each other. So everything on the field can, sure, when it comes to game planning, schematics, execution, discipline, you can point that to Daboll. But the pieces given to him, and that's not an excuse just for him, also reside on the general manager. And I think by the year ends, they both need to be gone. If you're bringing both of them back, cool. That means something good happened. But I cannot see a way that somehow Brian Daboll loses his job and Joe Schoen is not let go. And the reports that Daboll was fired on that plane coming back from Denver, however it was described, that does not mean that Schoen was keeping his job going into next year. That probably just means Daboll's the first one to go. And more could come. There are unique situations where this can happen. We could point, Denver's a good example. George Payton, he did not hire Vic Fangio. And then he did hire Nathaniel Hackett. But ownership, from what reports were, forced Russell Wilson on him. And it ended up being a disaster. That roster, he's rebuilt the roster twice. So he's proven he could build a roster. I don't think their quarterback's very good. But right now, they're 8-2, and they have a young quarterback. But there is reasons to keep him. When guys get fired, there's a track record. You want to be Miami? You want to be Miami, who just gets hyped for 10 years now, and Greer got to keep his job for a decade with 0 playoff victories, with 0 substance to show for it. They both have to go. You cannot keep Schoen and fire Daboll, and you obviously cannot keep the head coach and fire Schoen. Not that I think there's a possibility of that. John Mara is a smart man. John Mara, has had his struggles. He allows these guys to do their job. He's going to make the right decision. And if he doesn't, then the Giants have lost their way. 888-808-1019. I got you all the way till 2 a.m. We'll continue the Giants conversation. We'll get to your phone calls. We'll talk Jets, trade deadline, maybe a little Knicks.